Well, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and Jaime and Paul and Miriam came down here in the early 30s. It's just like a little small country town was Miami Beach. Maybe it consisted of 20 blocks. And then my father-in-law saw an empty store. One day they had the whole place, and the family was running this whole place. Paul was the oldest, Jaime was next. Jaime is my husband, and Miriam was the little girl. They worked together because they were in business together. They sold the magazines together. They did everything together.
When I came to Miami Beach, I knew nobody, but there was a central focus in Miami Beach. It wasn't Lincoln Road, you know. It was that store on 5th Street that the Galbuts had, and the Menons were there, and they were the Machas there. I knew his father. He was in charge, just like Jaime is in charge.
Al's Restaurant, in those days, was a place where people congregated, talked about which horse was going to win the Kentucky Derby or the Florida Derby. It was very much like 50 years ago, the stage delicatessen run by Max Sassness in New York. It was like Grossinger's Hotels or the Nemerson in the Borscht Belt. It was a place where people went, felt comfortable, and knew the proprietors.
Everybody came there, don't you see? Even when World War II came, they had the registration of the soldiers and the sailors in that store. They had people like Clark Gable, Tyrone Power. I mean, the biggest of these Kugel, Victor Mature, all these people came there, and they knew my mother-in-law. Clark Gable used to say, "Bessie, fry me some eggs." He would call out his orders just like that, 2 sunny side up. And he didn't want anyone else to make his eggs but Bessie. This was not just a drugstore. This was a tag agency. We sold the driver's licenses to the people and their tags. And we sold stamps. They had a notary public. The notary public would marry you. They had a public stenographer. Whatever you wanted, you name it, and they had it. We used to make the food for the prisoners. You know, the jailhouse was about 3.5 blocks away. We had slot machines, that's true, and we had the pinball machines. And then it became a place to bury the people. Anybody needed a pauper's grave or something, they came to Al to where you're going to bury him, and he would arrange for the funerals. I mean, they did almost everything there.
It's that kind of spirit that built this city. They were among the real pioneers who infiltrated the city. It wasn't that they lived here. They were the city.
It was a way of life more than a restaurant. It was a place to go, a place to smile, a place to cry, a place to unload yourself, and a place that will never be forgotten in the minds of those who are still around to remember.